member of the deadly trump card quartet of Medarot 3, whose icon is the club. It is TJK00 Jackal, with a kit of Napalm, Hyperbeam, Wide Break, Flight Legs, and the leg ability of Auto Charge, which passively fills Metaforce gauge for every action completed, no matter what's done. Now, we have actually seen Jackal up to date at this point in previous events as an enemy NPC, but this is his official event introduction as a gacha model that players can pull and collect for. And man, oh man, he definitely did come packing the new heat with his Grand Re-debut. Napalm is a gunpowder-based skill that is a scattered AoE, meaning that upon damaging the target, it will damage one part normally, and then two others at random at 1/3 damage each. Hyperbeam, and definitely a more sought-after skill when it comes to high-end nuking power, is an optic-based attribute skill, which means it gets a times 2 damage bonus at 30% charge, and a times 3 at 100% charge. In addition, it also has pierce damage, in contrast to, say, Beam, which has the same damage multipliers. Wide Break we've only seen a very small number of times up to this point, but simply put, it is an AoE version of Break, which is designed to be a heavy punish. So naturally, the more heavy parts the target has equipped, the more damage that this will deal, making this definitely one of the more desirable AoE skills in this case if the conditions can be met. Say, for instance, if you're fighting, say, Death Providence or God Emperor, or someone who is triple heavy that can capitalize on this punish bonus. Flight Legs also grant Jackal a very high mobility and evade bonus, as you see here, with a mobility of 995 and evade of 1649 as well. And the auto charge ability is also a very, very nice touch for Jackal as well, given that both of his arms can capitalize on this very easily just by him performing regular skills or even just regular turns before he even has a chance to do anything. So he is honestly very well-rounded in this case as it is. His armor is definitely up there too, where you want to be at about 3450 for his head, about 32, almost 3300 per arm, and almost 4000 for his legs. His base damage is also very nice, but I do also want to factor as well that these are base numbers and not final numbers including multipliers. So his damage potential can honestly go much, much higher, especially given that he can basically serve as a one-man Metaforce battery to fuel both of his arms very easily without the need of actually having someone else do that for him. Unfortunately, however, one of Jackal's really big weaknesses I do see here, even though his stats are very nice across the board, is his rather poor melee resist here at 289, just shy of 300 in this case. Usually for a resist stat, you want to stay closer to 1000 if you want to keep a rather decent form of damage reduction when tanking attacks. Now, even though his shoot resist is pretty much at that regular point you want to be at 10-12, that melee resist of 289 means that he is going to be taking a lot of bonus punish damage from anyone that is trying to get up close and personal when it comes to fighting. Now, granted, the high evade that Jackal does offer will honestly serve as a way to kind of counter this to a point, but if any melee hits do land, Jackal is going to definitely be in a world of hurt with that. Jackal is also capable of a meta change form, however, where he changes his kit entirely from an offense to a defense-based one, which is rather ironic given that his transformation form is that of a sword. In this form, Jackal changed his kit out entirely for Destroy, Gunpowder Guard, Gravity Guard, changes his leg type to Float, and his leg ability to Hoplite, which buffs his shoot and melee resist stats for every defense skill equipped, or in this case of being a meta change skill included in his kit. Now, in this form, it is basically just a fusion of everything he has to this point. Very nice heat and cool stats, and Destroy on there is very nice as well as a shield buster, or a way as a gambling skill if you do feel lucky in that particular fight. But it is also worth noting that his Destroy skill, while in this form, does require charge to make use of. But as an assurance in this case, this is honestly a very easily met requirement, given that in his regular form, auto charge can basically fill this up automatically, which makes it less of a hassle and easy to change back and forth and use as necessary. Gunpowder Guard and Gravity Guard unfortunately may be lesser used in this case, thus kind of hurting Jackal's overall viability on the field as a pure set, given that both of them essentially will intercept all incoming attacks, but only nullify their respective shield at 0 damage, and of course are always weak and susceptible to slip or destroy itself to really bust him. However, Changing his leg type to float does give him a little better overall coverage on all terrains, and the Hoplite ability does kind of comp a little bit of his already low melee resist, which, as you see here, he does trade a little bit of his speed by about 1,000 and some of his evade down to about 1409 to definitely cap on much higher melee resist than he had before, which actually does serve as a little bit of a forgiveness in this case. Now, 744 is still not quite where you want to be when it comes to resist stat like this, but the Hoplite ability does allow him to kind of make this back up to a point and kind of make his relatively low melee resist in this case forgivable, but only while he's transformed. As a pure set score, that being said, I do have to rate him a pretty solid 7.5 out of 10, given that his skills as a pure set actually do round themselves out and make them very well balanced as a whole, making Jackal a very dangerous force to be reckoned with as a shoot nuker for anyone that does choose to use him, at the cost that you will need to make sure that he stays protected from anyone that is using melee-based skills in order to prevent that punish damage. As mixed parts, on the other hand, I do have to rate him a little higher, actually, which is rare for a meta change model. I do have to rate him higher at an 8 out of 10, given that even though in his meta change form it does look very nice, you really aren't missing out on a whole lot with it, to be honest. And really, the three really big ticket items will of course be Jackal's arms in this case, being Hyperbeam and Wide Break. In addition to this, both arms are also non-heavy, meaning that you can fit them in any team build very quickly and very easily, especially for Metaforce reliant nukers, and not have to expect another heavy slot to be factored in with the legs.